Welcome to episode 407 of the show. If you are Nigerian or you happen to know a couple of Nigerian people, you will know that the primaries for the major political parties have been concluded recently, and so for the three big ones, or rather for the two big ones, and then the Labour Party, the presidential aspirants are good to go. They've been named, and so we know who the options are for the ballot box. And so, because of that, lots of folks have been in high fever, everybody talking about their own political candidate. And I'm sure you're wondering, what does all this political, what do I call it, back talk, political context, what does that have to do with the podcast? How it's relevant to those of us over here in this space, it's because it's tied to a message that I heard a while ago, first from Grant Cardone, but it's something that I had believed in strongly even before I heard him say it. A lot of times we blame the problems in our business with the larger macroeconomic factors, and yes, that is the case, that if you are in a depression and if the leaders of your country have taken some decisions that have ruined the fundamentals of the economy, yes, those are things that can put your business in a bind. But because of that, a lot of us are falling into the trap of assuming that the solution to every problem is the ballot box. So you're unhappy with cultural progress in your country, then the solution is the ballot box. You're unhappy with economics, the solution is the ballot box. You're unhappy with infrastructure development in your country, the solution is the ballot box. And I'm not saying that the solution is not the ballot box, because in a sense it is, because we need to elect credible leaders in the first place to make sure that everything runs smoothly and everything runs well, because those are the people who set the policy directive for how the country is going to run eventually. But however, we need to take a much more a much more realistic and much more nuanced view that the reason why our businesses are suffering and the reason why we're in a poor economic state on a personal level is because of our inability to sell and our inability to promote our businesses. So, as much as we show up to the ballot box and make sure that we vote Labour, or we vote the PDP, or we vote the APC, or if you're American, fill in your parties, Democratic, Republican, or if you're in the UK, the Labour Party, and I think those are the Social Democrats. So just fill in your party space here. So as much as you step up to the ballot box to fulfill your civic responsibility, remember that the major change is going to come when you realize that you need to learn how to sell. How are you going to position your business? How are you going to position your product or service? Who are the right customers that you should be going after? How do you initiate a conversation with them? How do you find out what is important to them? How do you fulfill that order? How do you make sure everybody is happy? Now that people are happy, how do you make sure that they come back for repeat business? How do you get them to bring their friends, their family, their associates to do business with you as well? Those are the larger questions that we should be trying to solve to make sure that we can improve our lot in business and in life generally. So that's what improves the lot of you and your family, and not necessarily the ballot box. Now, yes, the ballot box is important because I'm sure if you live in a country like Ukraine right now, where the decisions of elected officials means that you're living in a time of war, and of course, who can conduct business in a time of war. So I'm not talking about those extreme circumstances, because usually when we say things like that, that's where people will clap back at, they'll call up these extreme circumstances. So I'm not talking about extreme circumstances. Not talking about situations where the country is at war, or the rulers of the country have done something absolutely groundbreaking to destroy the economy. So we're not talking about Ukraine, and we're not talking about Zimbabwe of maybe a decade ago. Excuse me to my listeners who are in Zimbabwe, but there was a time when they went through that hint of what's the term? I can't remember the economic term because I've been out of school for a while. Is it hyperinflation or whatever? I mean, basically their money was becoming worthless wouldn't be the right word. But basically, the money was losing value really drastically. So I'm not talking about those kinds of situations. So for most of us, the solution actually is learning how to sell, learning how to market, learning how to promote. Those are the sorts of things that are going to make the difference. So the ballot box, absolutely important. Let's make sure that we do our bit. But at the end of the day, learning how to sell is what's going to make the difference in our personal lives and in our businesses. Now, beyond business and looking at the larger picture, those of us who are involved in private enterprise, we are beginning to get some expertise when it comes to setting priorities, determining what is important, moving agendas along, building consensus, what else? Things like that. And these are skills that are going to transfer quite well into the political sphere. So there are a couple of you who are listening to this podcast now who should start thinking about how they are going to get involved in politics, government, or setting the policy environment, the policy space in the future. Not everybody has to be an elected official, but if you do your bit well, especially if you learn how to sell and market well, you build a profitable business for yourself, eventually you might have some spare time or some spare change to lend your voice and your influence towards some of these things, and you can take an active role towards shaping the policy landscape in which you operate. An example that Nigerians are familiar with is Dangote. So he's not affiliated with any party. He's a billionaire, capitalist, or industrialist, or however it is you want to look at it. And because of the clout he has, whether you like it or not, because there's some people that are unhappy with this, he's able to use that to influence the policy climate in which he operates, whether it relates to import tariffs or concessions that he gets for his business interest, like when he was setting up the cement factory somewhere in Kogi State. I'm just saying that the bottom line is you don't have to be the president to effect change in the country. You do your bit, you build a profitable business, you're going to have the sphere, the power, and the influence to be able to determine little bits and pieces here and there that affect the overall policy climate in which you operate and in which your family, your kids, and everybody operates as well. So that's a summary of all that I came up here to talk about today, this rant. So basically just to say that, yes, as we're rooting for our candidates and as we go and vote, and please, by all means, let's vote, because voter apathy doesn't help anyone. We need to be all actively engaged in all this to help rebuild our countries. And regardless of which country you are, whether American, Nigerian, or United Kingdom, definitely you know that your country has problems. And so we could all use everybody's hand on deck. But as we're rallying for the ballot box, let's also rally for ourselves. Learn to sell. That's going to make the difference. The people who are thriving, even in this turbulent times, even in this tough economy, this Buhari economy, as Nigerians like to say, the people who are thriving in the Buhari economy most likely also were thriving in the Goodluck economy, and also if you go back Yaradua on Obasanjo or whatnot. So the reason why they thrived, whether the country was up or whether the country was down, was because of sound business practice, and that is what we should be aspiring to. So vote and also pay attention to sound business practice. So thank you very much for listening to today's episode. I'll catch you guys at the next recording.